My name is David Rogers. I'm a professor at Columbia Business School and best-selling author of 5 books, including my latest, The Digital Transformation Roadmap. I'm here to talk with you today about my new article for Rotman Management Magazine, Measuring Digital Innovation, a 4-stage framework. Measuring innovation is a perennial challenge. New ventures cannot be managed by the same KPIs as your core business. What's more, the right metrics will change rapidly as you grow any new venture. That's because the uncertainty of any new innovation means you must manage it through a process of experimentation. Metrics are essential to experimentation. So, what data should you use to guide you on your innovation journey? Based on my own years of research and coaching Fortune 500 companies and innovation teams, I've developed a framework for measuring innovation. I call it the 4 stages of validation. In the first stage, which I call problem validation, the goal is to answer a really essential question for any innovation, and that is, are we focused on a genuine problem for an actual customer? This might seem obvious, but it's actually the most common place where innovation efforts go wrong. Once you're able to validate that that is the case, you can start to focus on stage 2, solution validation. And here what we want to test and learn or prove is, does the customer see value in our proposed solution? Now, to be clear at this point, you're not yet delivering value. You don't have a working solution for them, but you are communicating the intended value proposition and you're trying to measure, does that actually draw out? Does that create interest in the customer? Now, stage 3 of this process is product validation. Now, at this point, what you want to answer is, can we deliver a solution that customers use? And then finally, in stage 4, the essential question to answer is, can we capture sufficient value from this innovation? Now, this could be added revenue, reduced operating costs for your company, or for a public sector innovation, it might be impact on a defined social benefit. So in each of these 4 stages, there are specific hypotheses that you need to validate about any innovation that you're attempting. Once you know your hypotheses, you can then select the specific metrics that matter most at that stage. Let's take a look at stage 1. So in stage 1, again, we want to confirm, are we focused on a genuine problem for an actual customer? So the key hypotheses are a problem definition, right? Do we have a confirmed definition of what the problem is? Also, urgency. Does this really matter to the customer? Who are the customer segments for whom this problem matters? And can we validate, are there certain early adopters? Those are people who are willing to, customers who are willing to try some kind of solution even before it's fully fleshed out. And lastly, it's really critical at this point to try to validate what might your market size be. So with those hypotheses in mind, we can start to understand what we need to learn. Stage 1 is actually mostly qualitative. This is a lot of in-depth, what I call problem interviews with customers. But there are some key metrics we should look out for. First, you've got to measure what's the number of interviews you're conducting per customer segment, number of site visits to the customer in context, number of early adopters who you have identified who might be interested to try a rough MVP or prototype of a product. And of course, TAM, total addressable market, classic metric you want to look at in this first stage. Now, the second stage, does the customer see value in our proposed solution? What are the hypotheses here? Well, we want to validate customer demand. We want to validate what are the benefits that are perceived by the customer and what we're intending to deliver. What are the features that are preferred by the customer or the highest priority for them? How are we perceived in terms of competitors? Remember, it's the customer who defines your competitive set, not you. So who do they see as competitors or sort of alternatives to what you are offering to the market? And perhaps most importantly, the key thing you want to validate here is what's commonly called product market fit. That means, have you really achieved a kind of a strong, clear match between what you're offering and what the market is demanding? Now, if we know these are our hypotheses to validate, we can start to pick very specific metrics to measure, depending on what you're creating or building and how you're putting it in front of or showing it to customers. These are going to be things like the click-through rate on some kind of digital messaging or offering, landing page conversion rate, customer signups for a product trial, customer willingness to pay in some cases, or for B2B, it might be deposits or purchase orders made by the customer before you have even delivered a first working product yet. Now, stage 3. What are we trying to learn? Well, can we deliver a solution that customers will use? So some key hypotheses here are going to be about customer usage, right? Who uses it and how much? And also retention. Do they keep coming back? Is it a sticky experience? You want to validate the customer journey and what are the most important use cases. And then on your side, in terms of delivery, you've got to validate what are the key operational requirements to make this innovation work. What are the technical requirements, legal requirements, and what barriers may there be to competitors coming along and offering or delivering the exact same thing as you? So with those hypotheses in mind, we can spot some important metrics such as what's your user growth rate, what is the frequency of use by customers, what is their retention rate, how many of them drop off or churn or don't come back every month, but also net promoter score, customer satisfaction, and operational metrics such as your delivery speed, your accuracy rate, and your operational downtime. Lastly, in stage 4, we can also think about hypotheses and metrics. Now, the point of stage 4 is to validate, can we capture as our business sufficient value for us from this innovation? So what do we need to validate? Key hypotheses are around your unit economics of this innovation. What is it going to cost, per customer, et cetera, to deliver? What are the marginal costs and so forth? What is your path to profit? Right? Do you have a path to profitability once you get a certain level of adoption and usage and volume that this ought to start capturing more value back for you than you're having to plow into it and invest in it? And also, what is the size of the opportunity overall, what I call the maximum upside potential of this innovation? So with those hypotheses in mind, depending on the specific business model of your innovation, you can pick the right quantitative metrics, but these are typically going to include things like total revenue, average revenue per user, customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value. From an operational point of view, what are your fixed costs versus marginal costs? What's the ROI, compound annual growth rate, and what is the total projected profit? And lastly, it's very important, you need to compare that with what is the opportunity cost in the sense, what could you spend your money and time on? What value could you capture spending that, investing that elsewhere in your company? And that is typically measured as your internal rate of return. With the right metrics in place, any team leading an innovation project can now begin to make smart decisions. At every step of iterative testing and learning, the team should be asking themselves, what does the data tell us? Does the data validate our thinking and signal that we should proceed with the next step of our innovation? Or is the data giving us a warning sign, telling us we need to either pivot, that means adapt our thinking or innovation, or quickly shut down the current innovation so we can focus our attention on the next opportunity? In this slide, we can see every one of these stages has specific signals we should look at in the data to tell us whether we should pivot or proceed. So I'll just give the example of stage 1, problem validation. What should we be looking for in our metrics? Well, a clear signal that something's wrong and we need to pivot or change course or else shut down this initiative is that the customer does not even agree with us on what the problem is that we're there to solve for them. Another clear signal is that we confirm the problem, but it is not a top 5 priority for the customer. Or the customer recognizes the problem, but they are satisfied enough with existing ways of working around it or addressing that problem. On the other hand, data from our metrics will give us a clear signal to proceed if, in stage 1, we find that customers repeat a clear shared problem statement that they're all facing. Customers also express urgency to solve this problem, and customers express that they are dissatisfied with the current option. In my article, I look at all 4 stages of validation, and I lay out what are the signals to pivot or proceed that we should look at for each stage. The digital era demands innovation, Every business today must continually innovate to keep up with changing customer needs, new competitors, and emerging technologies. Yet, it is not enough to blindly commit resources to the pursuit of new ideas. Leaders must ensure that every innovation adds meaningful value to the firm along with value to the customer. This simple four-stage framework can help any leader avoid common mistakes made by corporate innovators and accelerate the discovery of your next digital success story. Please let me know how it works for you.